Rosen?
Present.
Susan Ryder, absent.
I'd like to note that I'm filling in for our board president, Mark Berry, this evening. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, since we have so many students here this evening who are dying to get home and do homework, we're going to begin our meeting this evening with some recognition, and Nate Blackmer is going to handle that. Nate?
Leanne, we should go up.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I have invited two groups of students, both representing the Odyssey of the Mind team at Lake Bluff Middle School and also Science Olympiad. These students participate in some unique co-curricular opportunities, and I thought it'd be worth mentioning that some of these guys will be going on this weekend to compete in the Odyssey of the Mind Worlds competition. So that's a pretty big deal. We're very excited. We're wishing them the best of luck. Now, what I have done is challenge them a little bit. Given the number, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. They're going to explain which of the two activities, and some of them may have done both, and they'll explain that, they participated in, and then they're going to provide you with one word that they would use to describe their experience. They've had 3 minutes, so I'm sure they're more than ready. So I'll turn things over.
And we need to have them line up or line here so we can give them a little recognition of that. So when you guys are done, you just go stand over in the front so we can see you.
I was Carolyn Douglas and I did Science Olympiad. So, one word was challenging.
Good word.
I'm Kevin Gustafson. I did Science Olympiad and the one word of that was awesome. I'm Audrey Waite and I did Odyssey of the Mind and my one word was exciting. I'm Avery Morris and I did Odyssey of the Mind and my one word was stellar. Hi, I'm Persephone Villanueva. I did Odyssey of the Mind, and my experience was certainly interesting. Hi, my name is Amelia Miller. I did Odyssey of the Mind, and my word that describes Odyssey of the Mind is innovative.
I'm Lucas Himmelpenning, and I did Odyssey of the Mind, and my word is cooperation.
Hi, my name is Ashley Keim. I did Odyssey of the Mind, and my word is limitless.
Hi, I'm Ella Badger, and I do Science Olympia, and my word, I think, would be determination.
Hi, my name is Milana Yanev. I did Science Olympiad, and one word to describe it was definitely challenging.
Hi, my name is Charlie Kopp, and my one word to describe Science Olympiad is team building. Hello, my name's Eleanor Sugru, and one word, I did Science Olympiad, and one word to describe it is teamwork.
My name is Tad Charlo, and I did Science Olympiad, and my word was interesting.
My name is Gabriel Buterini, and I did Science Olympiad, and the one word that I would like to use to describe it is invigorating.
Okay, you all need to smile because you're part of a photo opportunity here. On behalf of the board, we want to thank all of these exciting kids and great opportunities for science, engineering, math, logic. Our Science Olympiad kids competed. Can one of you guys tell me when you competed? When was that? A while ago? St. Patrick's Day, I'm hearing. St. Patrick's Day, February, March. So you guys, we want to thank you all for that. We hope those of you 6th and 7th graders come back and join that again. It is my understanding the Odyssey of the Mind kids, many of you are going on to World this week. So we want to wish all of you good luck, and on behalf of the school district, we're wowed by all of your creativity and your participation. So thanks for all you do. We appreciate it. As Mr. Hood said, we know you're all dying to get home and do homework. So feel free, you are welcome to go ahead and go home and do homework. But thank you for taking time tonight.
On behalf of the board, I just want to say my one word is impressive. Very, very impressive. Good job, everybody.
Right, okay. She's so sweet, so as soon as everybody clears out, I don't think we have anybody though. So probably what you need to do is say, Mrs. Goff, you know, is there anybody that's expressed interest in public comment? Because nobody said anything to her.
All right, up next is public comment. Mrs. Goff, has anyone expressed interest in public comment this evening?
I have not received any.
See a gentleman in the back. Okay, please come forward, Jim. And I just want to remind anyone wanting to make public comment that per board policy, we allow members of the public up to 5 minutes.
Hopefully I won't need that. Thank you. So on a night when I believe the annual budget is being considered, I thought it was appropriate to highlight what I view to be a very important financial matter. I have provided all of you with a more detailed statement via email, and I promise to keep my oral comments to a very brief statement. Included in the more detailed statement is a list of 17 cases of teachers abusing students that total more than $500 million in the courts to the victims. In the past 2 years, the Charles Britt situation has progressed from victims making FOIA requests and providing petitions for action to more recently a set of 5 plaintiffs filing suit against Lake Bluff schools with unspecified financial damages. The response from the school board in the past 2 years has been typical and consistent with other school boards facing similar circumstances. Given one of the primary missions of the school board, the path that you have chosen to date is very understandable. However, being typical and consistent in this case is not the best course of action, as a typical path often ends up with schools paying millions of dollars. To date, roughly $140,000 has been spent by Lake Bluff schools on lawyers and PR firms related to the Ritz matter. I know against a nearly $20 million annual budget, this might appear insignificant. However, against the backdrop of the cost of teachers, teachers' aides, and investments in educational tools, the funds spent become more meaningful. What value have taxpayers received from this expenditure? It seems to me all we got was a lawsuit. I imagine now that the suit's been filed, that legal expenses will only go up, and communications between the board and the victims will be reduced from highly limited to almost non-existent cases. The future I see only has the lawyers making money, the very lawyers that are advising you on your strategy. I urge you to find a different path. Stop the legal saber rattling and the associated legal invoices that come with it. Instead, try sitting down with the victims. Find out what they want. The next meeting you would have would represent the second meeting between victims and members of the school board in the past 2 years. The victims have stated publicly that this is not about the money. How about finding out if that is true? This became about the money when the first dollar was given to lawyers and PR firms in 2016. I believe the longer you stay on the typical path, the greater the potential becomes that Lake Bluff faces financial penalties like those given to the Hawaii Kamehameha School in February 2018. In that case, 32 victims received a total of $80 million for abuse that took place between 1958 and 1985. I hope the 1985 date is not lost on us. It's ironic. Against a $20 million annual budget, I'm hopeful $80 million strikes you and me as motivation for at least considering a different path. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and for your concern.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, I think both of our staff members are here. We want to recognize this evening. First up, Doreen. Whereas it is the desire of this Board of Education on behalf of its members, its faculty, and the community to extend its sincere appreciation for her loyalty to this school district, and whereas she has dedicated herself to the leadership of the children and faculty of Lake Bluff School District 65 for 40 years, demonstrating sound judgment and caring compassion for each of her students and staff, and whereas during her many years of service, she has demonstrated her willingness to cooperate with fellow administrators, teachers, and staff to assist the many teachers who have come to the district and departed during her tenure in Lake Bluff. Therefore, be it hereby resolved by the Board of Education, District 65, Lake Bluff, Lake County, Illinois, that there be extended to Doreen Buxa its appreciation for her contribution to the children and families of the school district. Dated this 22nd day of May 2018 at Lake Bluff, Lake County, Illinois. Thank you so much.
I would just like to say that it's been a privilege and an honor to teach here in Lake Bluff and to work with the parents and the students. And I feel very blessed to have had this chance and this opportunity. Thank you.
Doreen, on top of being our physical education teacher for years and years, my question is who's going to do all the makeup for the musical?
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll come back and help.
I need an emergency call next year.
We want to thank you. 40 years is a long time, and we've been lucky to have you in Lake Bluff, so thank you very much. Next.
Ann Worthen. Where it is the desire of this Board of Education on behalf of its members, its faculty, and the community to extend its sincere appreciation for her loyalty to this school district, and whereas she has dedicated herself to the leadership of the children and faculty of Lake Bluff School District 65 for 14 years, demonstrating sound judgment and caring compassion for each of her students and staff, and whereas during her many years of service, she has demonstrated her willingness to cooperate with fellow administrators, teachers, and staff, and to assist the many teachers who have come to the district and departed during her tenure in Lake Bluff. Therefore, be it hereby resolved by the Board of Education, District 65, Lake Bluff, Lake County, Illinois, that there be extended to Ann Worthen its appreciation for her contribution to the children and families of the school district, dated this 22nd day of May, 2018, at Lake Bluff, Lake County, Illinois. Congratulations. Thank you.
of working for the district here, I started off as a parent in this district 38 years ago this month. My husband and I came here, and our oldest daughter started kindergarten, and so we had 9 children go through the district, and I can't tell you how pleased we were with the quality of education they all received. I also want to say thank you to Doreen for taking 6 of my children through, but also I would like to compliment the Fine Arts program here in Lake Bluff. My oldest daughter went on to get her doctorate in music education and is a professor at Utah Valley University. And then my oldest son also got his master's in music and education, and he is a high school teacher out in Frisco, Texas. And probably 7 of my 9 have carried on with music, and I just can't say enough about how wonderful it's been for them, and it all started right here in Lake Bluff. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And we want to say thank you for your 38 years and your various capacities. Between the 2 of you, we've got 78 years representative experience in the school district, and you're both really going to be missed, so just know that. Thank you for your service. We will recognize our retirees at our retiree recognition event next week. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And you guys are free to go home and do your homework too.
All right, next up, we would like to recognize Jay Kahn.
Come on up, Jay. As our board knows, this year was the first year we received our Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Having gone through the CSBO program myself, there's a lot of work involved in this, a lot. And it really, really is a feather in the cap that a school district would be honored for this. And Jay put in a lot of time, so we are honoring him this evening. John's going to say a few words. We actually have 2. We have this one. Jay was going to start a special awards walk from one of his colleagues. Then we have the association, it's the ASBO award for its comprehensive annual report. So really there are 2 different things, and his intention is we will continue to apply for this because it really shows that you've got transparency in your finances and everything is in order. So, John?
Yeah, just a few things. I say this on behalf of the entire board. I was on a committee that interviewed you, was it 4 years ago? And any board, it's a requirement that we receive and have confidence in financial information. I think in your quiet, dedicated way, you helped us work through restructuring the bonds and saving the taxpayers of Lake Bluff over $4 million. We've had a balanced budget for 4 years consecutively. And I know you had an eagle eye on the budget when we did the renovation at the middle school. So we all, I'm sure the rest of the board would like to say thank you and continue the open and transparent methods that we're using.
I think I'll be speaking enough later.
Okay.
These are 2 awards. There's places on the award for each year, so now I'm stuck doing this every year. And there's a couple other awards that we're looking to apply for in the future. So.
No, I mean, I think I'd just say, school boards have plenty of things to worry about. It's been really great, at least in my experience on the board. You've just been a solid professional. I feel like we've got really good answers to questions that we have about financial matters. And then just to take a step forward, kind of outside of the financial domain, although it has a financial implication, it was a pleasure working with you this past year on transportation issues with the community as well, and you did a fine job facilitating that as an administrative colleague. So thanks for everything, and keep it up.
Thanks, Jay.
I do not believe that we have representatives from either the PTO or the Alliance here, so I think we can kick things right back over to Jay for a report.
Okay, for my report, the first thing was just a disposition of property. By board policy, we notify the board when the district disposes of assets, personal property, real estate. We recently donated 72 old band chairs to Lamb's Farm. These chairs were old chairs, and we were able to donate them because we received new chairs that were generously donated by the Kiwanis Club of Lake Bluff and Lake Forest. So they gave us brand new chairs for our band room, and we donated the old ones to Lamb's Farm.
Great.
And then I also just wanted to talk about what's coming up for the June board meeting. We will have the workers' comp and property casualty insurance renewals, the HSA health savings account contribution renewal, a prevailing wage.
Our favorite one, prevailing wage.
The authorized depository approvals, and then approvals for technology purchases, which Dr. Rubenstein will talk about in a second, and approval of the hazardous transportation routes.
And we're just bringing that to your attention since we don't have a committee of the whole meeting in June.
All right.
So.
Okay, next up, Kevin.
So Jay talked about the technology purchases that we are hopefully going to be approving in June. So at your board table this evening, you have a brief overview of the technology purchase plan. It is a 50,000-foot overview. John has been a part of the technology committee this year. Really, we have been at a decision point this year, and so the technology team has, and that is because of the fact that 3 years ago we started leasing our MacBook Airs at the middle school, and so the leases are up at the end of this school year for the 6th graders. And so what we typically would have done is that those MacBook Airs would have been recycled and gone back down to our 5th graders, and we don't have that option. And so the technology team has recommended that we move forward with the purchase of Chromebooks for the 5th grade students, and then also for 6th grade students, and that be the device that we utilize moving forward. And so that'll be a slow rollout over the coming years. So you have in front of you sort of the 50,000-foot overview of what the costs will look like over the coming years. But there's a pretty significant cost savings that goes along with that over the coming years. So where we would have been spending about $180,000 per year just for the MacBook Airs in terms of the leases. We are going to be spending about $120,000 this next year. That's the proposal to purchase 3 levels of Chromebooks that have been significantly upgraded, and then the price goes down from there. And those are Chromebooks that we own. The team has been a big part of that. And the nice piece is that they're tablet devices, and so they're even able to be utilized in math and some other areas there.
And to a certain extent, the technology fee tends to offset some of this cost as well, correct?
That is correct. That was part of the discussion that we had earlier in the year, is that we wanted to share the cost of the technology fees between the district and the families to a proportionate share. So, yes.
John, I know you sat on the committee. Do you have any other comments?
Well, I thought I've been in my career a lot of different committees and a lot of different meetings. I thought Kevin did a great job of keeping meeting #1 on time. We were always finished on time. I thought the participation was spread among the committee members. I thought it was quite detailed, and I thought the decisions were well thought through. So I was impressed with the way the whole process took place.
Super. Well, thank you. So, again, this is your discussion we normally would have had at committee of the whole, but since we don't have one, we'll be bringing that to for your approval next month. Any other questions on that?
Okay. So we're moving on to discussion. 5 items this evening. The first 2 are in Jean's court.
The policy meeting date has been set for Monday, July 2nd from 6 to 8. Julie, Susan, and Leanne will be attending. You may thank them all later because the stack of policies we have to go through is somewhat comprehensive. However, they can breathe easy because the majority of them are just minor corrections, so that will be good. There is a policy that I know we'll be bringing back for the board that will need approval in July, and that's a new acceleration policy that we're trying to sort through right now. But know that we're going to have to put that on the fast track because we just got press this week, and it's effective July 1st. So we will be working on that policy and have to do first and second reads rather quickly. So the next one is setting the time for the July 24th board meeting. Typically we've had those at 7 a.m. in the morning and just approved bills. I think with everything going on, I am going to suggest that we meet in closed session at 6 o'clock and then have our board meeting start at 6:30. I don't contemplate the board meeting will be anything other than bills. Maybe personnel added to that, and then I would suggest I would like to take everyone out for a quick beverage before we go home. So,
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that?
I'm coming in on a flight that day at about 4:30, so.
So you would be here by 6:30.
Hopefully if the planes are on time.
And John, I'll have food.
I'll talk to the pilot about that.
Paul who could come and you have enough people.
I already polled, and we have enough people to do it, but I'm gonna have to poll again, as you know. So I do a lot of polling to make sure.
I'm not going, but that's going to be a difficult date.
Is it easier in the morning?
Probably. But then there's no drinks. I don't think. So I don't know.
If it's my family, I would love to drink.
All right, well, we'll give that some thought, and I will be in contact with everybody to find out times and how we're going to do that.
Sorry, Mom, if you're listening in online.
The next thing we have is the tentative budget discussion. I do want to remind everyone that last year, Jay and I went with a new timeline. Traditionally, we were coming with tentative budget in August and talking to you a lot about it in August and September. It has been our goal to go through parameters in May and bring you a tentative budget before the school year ends. We will be asking for a tentative budget approval in June at the next meeting. Keeping in mind developments happen over the summer. In August and September, you'll see it again, and September will be the vote for the no longer tentative budget. So we like to put it in front of you several times and keep you abreast of changes to it. So I'm going to turn that over to you now, Jay.
Okay. Well, that was my first slide, so I'll cover I'll just go right into the agenda. I'll be covering the 2018-19 tentative budget, which includes the replacement of the rooftop units of the air conditioning units at LVES, as well as the office redesign. Go through historical results, revenue and expense assumptions, debt service, and then cover fund balance. I needed to complete this year's budget as the base for long-term projections, so I don't have the long-term 5-year projections to share today, but those will also be shared in June as a part of the tentative budget approval. All of the comparisons also in this presentation are versus last year's budget, so I don't have actuals yet to compare against, so that makes the year-over-year comparisons a little distorted, and I'll try to explain when that happens, what it means. But I did create a budget estimate which takes into account some of the changes, particularly the air conditioning for the long-term projections. So looking at 2018-19, it is a balanced budget. Now, this is a balanced operating budget, but we will have a net deficit if you include total spending, just due to the size of the air conditioning project. And so we'll have a surplus in. We've delayed the air conditioning units from this budget to next budget, so we'll have a surplus from this year and then the surplus next year, and that will cover a very large part of the air conditioning project. Looking at our historical numbers, this just shows kind of where we've been starting back in 2011-12, taking you up to the current. Our fund balance is right now at roughly 40% of operating expenditures and should be fairly stable or consistent for the next couple of years. You can see the 2017-18 estimate. I've taken into account the favorability from this year. We're expecting to increase our fund balance this year by about $650,000. A lot of that is due to the fact that we budgeted the air conditioning unit, the 2 air conditioning units to be done this year, and it's not going to be done until July. So $300,000 of capital spending from this year is getting shifted into next year, and so that's about half of the surplus. And then the other half of the surplus are some miscellaneous items that were explained in the treasurer's report from this month, particularly special education, some communications, and some other miscellaneous favorability. So as we shift that to next year, that's going to cover a large part of the air conditioning units. Going over the revenue assumptions, we're going to be receiving the 2017 tax levy, which was approved in December. It gets paid in July and August of this year. It's increasing by 2.6% over last year, 2.1% on existing property, and the balance on new property. And our debt service is going up 1.2% by the debt service schedule. I'm assuming that we're going to receive 100% of our evidence-based funding state aid, and this replaced the old general state aid, which now includes the old GSA, a lot of the special ed state money, and the English language state money. And with this change, with the new funding formula, they've been funding what they're calling the base funding minimum. So whatever we got, whatever we were entitled to up to this date, that's called the base funding minimum, and they're funding that at 100%. And then they're funding districts who meet certain financial ratios above that amount and giving them extra money. So they're basically guaranteeing the base funding minimum, and I'm forecasting that we'll receive 100% of that, which is a change from the past where I would be very conservative on state money because I wasn't expecting to actually get paid. Now they've committed to paying at least that amount. So that reduces the variability and volatility in our budgets and helps forecast what money is going to come in. I'm also putting it all in operations and maintenance funds so that it can be transferred to pay for the air conditioning. So all that money is going to be going towards the air conditioning unit. I'm also expecting some late payments from the prior fiscal year on some of the categorical state money. So they still pay us separately for transportation and things like that, and that money is still late and not something to be counted on. So I'm expecting maybe the first 2 payments this year and the second 2 payments from this year to receive next year. When we voted to go to all full-day kindergarten, that reduces our full-day kindergarten tuition. We're foregoing that, so that's about $150,000 decrease in revenue, but we started charging a transportation fee this year, and that should increase revenue by about $50,000. So if you look at overall revenue, you can see that transportation and IMRF are going up, and we had fund balances that were too high in those funds relative to the expenditures, so we had reduced the levies in prior years and we've just returned them to normal state, so that shows the increase over last year. The operations and maintenance fund is up because that's where I put all the state money to pay for the air conditioner, and then education is down because it was shifted out of that fund. But in general, total operating funds are going up 1%. So total revenue is pretty flat, just with a lot of moving around between funds. This pie always looks the same every year. We get most of our revenue from property taxes, 91%. State aid is about 3%. Federal money is 1%, and the balance local fees and food services 5%. Looking at the expenditure assumptions, we have a net salary increase. The net salary increase is just over 2%. It's composed of the LBTC average increase of 3%. They're getting their step increase. Classified staff increase was 3.25%, and admin increase was 2.85%. We're adding just under a half FTE for full-day kindergarten. We have two retirements, one teacher or LBTC retirement, and we need to fill an open custodial position. As I discussed last board meeting, our insurance premium increases were pretty high this year. Our PPO went up by 7.7%. Our HMO decreased, and our dental went up as well. The majority of our staff is in the PPO. So that will lead to a net benefit increase just over 6.5% all in. We actually are starting to experience some TRS cost shift. The legislature keeps talking about it, but they did implement a cost shift, a small cost shift already, and that goes into effect this year, and it will be budgeted for next year. And that's any salary in excess of the governor's salary. The district picks up the normal cost of their pension payments. So that's a cost that TRS used to pay that the districts are now obligated to pay.
How much does the governor make?
$177,000. So it doesn't impact a lot of people. It's a fairly small amount of money for us, but I would expect to hear, and I will forecast as a scenario in my long-term projections, various TRS cost shift scenarios, because I think there's a high probability that some other additional cost shift will happen in the future. We're going to continue our additional GCA custodians to support the middle school. And then we have our special ed spending will actually increase a little bit versus this year, but will be less than what we budgeted for this year. Looking at capital spending, everybody we know, we've talked to death about the air conditioning. We'll be replacing the 5 rooftop units for about $1 million in July. We'll be redesigning the office at the elementary school for security. That will also happen over the summer. And then we will continue working on miscellaneous projects at the middle school, including locker painting, some classroom casework, and replacement of a boiler pump. Kevin, Dr. Rubenstein talked about our technology purchases. This has been included in the budget. New Chromebooks for grades 2, 5, and 6. Our 8th grade MacBooks are coming off of lease, and we need to replace the remaining projectors in the middle school. And then transportation, included in this budget is a $100,000 reduction in spending. That assumes I can eliminate 2 routes. If that doesn't happen, then that will be a change between now and the final budget. We'll know a lot more at the registration deadline at the beginning of July, how many people sign up for the bus and where they live, and we'll do routing this summer. So just looking overall at a high level, we have a net increase in the ed fund of 1%, pretty flat. Our operations and maintenance spending shows a large reduction, but again, this is versus last year's budget, and last year's budget included the air conditioners in it. So that's why we're showing a decrease this year. And also because we were paying out of operating funds. I budgeted out of operating funds this year because it was a small amount. It was just the two units. But due to the size of the project, it's going to be paid for out of the capital projects fund instead. So we'll be shifting from the operating funds to the capital projects fund because it's over $1 million now. And otherwise that would make year-over-year comparisons of our operating statements be hard to interpret. Transportation fund is showing a decrease. Again, that's due to the elimination of 2 routes. And then a decrease in IMRF and Social Security fund. This is because our IMRF rate went down from 13.2% to 11.5%, driven by very significant market returns by the IMRF pension system. They achieved 15% earnings this year against a target of 7.5%. Which reduces contributions for all of the employers. And IMRF is actually 97% funded now on a market basis. And then down the capital projects fund below is the air conditioning units. Looking at it by object, shows a salary increase of about 2%, benefit increase of about 6%. The reduction in purchase services is again due to transportation because we contract out transportation. Fairly flat supply budget, an increase in capital spending due to the air conditioners, and then our dues and fees, that's mostly tuition paid to other districts for special education services, and that's going down versus this year's budget. Just looking again at the pie, salaries and benefits of our total spend are about 2/3. If you just looked at operating funds, it would be about 75%. Capital slice this year is significantly bigger than in prior years at 6%, and then everything else is pretty consistent. Purchase services and benefits at 12% each, and debt service at 11%. And then this again just shows you a reminder of our debt service schedule, what it looks like. It's pretty flat going out through 2029, and then our bonds that were issued for the elementary school in 2008 will be done and paid for, and the only remaining bonds will be the ones issued for the middle school for the next couple of years. It will drop to about $400,000 a year. Looking at fund balance, even with the large capital expenditures, I'm expecting about 44% fund balance as a percent of operating expenses, and this is at the end of 18-19. At the end of 17-18, it's going to be significantly higher than that because of the shift of the air conditioning project out of this year into next year. So we may be, I haven't done the math, but probably close to 50% this year, and then we'll spend it back down at the end of next year. But we're still within our target. And that was all I prepared.
I just have a quick question. It's just because you mentioned transportation a few times, and this is really for you or Jean. Given our deadline in July and then the subsequent increase to transportation fees, should we not get good information from people? Do we feel like we got a good communication plan in place for the parents, or is that kind of really apparent on the forms that they may have when they go through registration?
Yeah, we've been sending about every week to parents as a reminder.
Okay.
As the deadline approaches, we'll definitely remind them specifically about the increase in transportation a number of times. We don't want anybody to not know and come back.
Tell your wife.
It's probably going to me too. She just reads it.
Okay. It's going to the parent one, each person.
Well, she would be parent one.
Yes. So, and I watched Leanne smile as I said that because
another week has gone by and you haven't registered your child for school.
Several people have said, like,
I may be registered. I have no idea.
Please stop sending these emails, and both Jay and Jean and now you and other people have said, hey, are we reminding people? And I'm like, we've reminded people.
Over-reminded.
Yeah.
So, I guess then that's the question. Negative comments at all about now that it's actually applying. Much negative comments about the fee.
In fact, I've heard just anecdotal comments that many people are signing up and paying the fee even though they don't plan on using the bus that frequently. So
Good.
It wasn't as much of a deterrent as
great.
we had hoped. But
That's what we like.
I do want to make one comment on the budget. It is our intent that at some point in the fall, as we review our fund balance, and especially when we're at 44%, we will be getting our 20-year facility plan over the summer. And I think we need to take a hard look at that facility plan and start putting money aside for the boilers at the middle school. I would like to at least have that projected out, how much it's going to cost generally, and how many years it's going to take that we save, because that is something we worry about every single winter. And with the fund balance that we have, I do think we need to consider being thoughtful about looking at that facility plan and budgeting for that.
Do we know what the ballpark is for those boilers? Because we really have been talking about it for years. It's kind of
It's very costly.
amazing that we
that's all I
haven't
know.
had a big problem.
Is it over $1 million, under $1 million?
No, it's not. It would be under $1 million.
We just ate $1 million on the air conditioner
Right.
stuff. We could figure it away. And plus the fund balance is at the top end of our.
Right.
No, that's why I'm asking.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Why don't we?
Maybe we
do
look
it?
at it for next summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we get the assessment back, we'll plan it all out. We do have some significant capital expenditures. We have a new phone system I know that we need. There's the boiler, and then we'll get conditions back on the roofs and other major big ticket items and plan it all out so that we can, and you actually as a board we can reserve fund balance, so you can take action to have, there's unreserved fund balance, and then you can either take official action or we can just put it in a certain bucket so that you can say this is kind of the rainy day fund just in case, the cash flow money, and then this is the money that's reserved for capital expenditures, and you can designate it
That's what we need.
on your financial statement so that
I mean, I know we've been talking about it for a few
Yeah.
years, and it really the cost if they were to fail mid January or something.
We'd have to do it.
right, and that's why we're buying the pump this summer so we have a backup. The chances of the pump failing are higher than the chances of the boiler failing, so
Okay.
we've dodged many bullets, and that will add some insurance this winter, and then we'll look at replacing it in the near term.
I think the facility plan is going to give us some valuable information as we look at our fund balance. So I just wanted to point that out.
What's the estimated lifespan of our new air conditioning units?
5 years.
It should be
15 to 20.
My son, who I paid for his education, so he owes me lots of information, told me it's 15 to 20 years, but he said more towards 20, and he's very shocked that they're all gone at 9 years. But I think everyone is, and we just have to eat it and fix it and move on. But the average lifespan is at least 20. It's almost like a house. Most people I know in homes keep their air conditioning and heating units for about 20 years. So.
Anything more on the budget?
Sorry to hear that. I'm in year 19.
But you're living on the edge there, Richard. All right, Kevin, you're up.
So also in front of you this evening is this colorful Excel spreadsheet this evening. And that is where our enrollment stands as a projection about what we know today in terms of students leaving and students who have pre-registered for this next school year. So we wanted to bring this to you just to bring your attention to a couple of things. First of all, kindergarten numbers for this next year are coming in very strong, which is a good thing. So 91 students right now. If we were to reach 95, so that would put us at 96. That would put us over our class size guidelines, and we would come back to you for a further discussion. That's been our practice in the past, and so we wanted to bring this to you tonight just so that you're aware of where we're at right now. The other classes are holding steady about where we have been, and this is just an update for you.
And we will bring an update to you in June, and we will bring an update to you in July, so that you know we're monitoring these numbers. Any other questions on enrollment?
All right, Jay?
Yeah, as you know, and I will preface this, we had some discussions after the Parklet school shooting. I had many parents concerned about the entryway at the elementary school. And we got quotes and had both IHC and White out. We are reconfiguring the entire office, and with that comes changing the door. We're putting an extra door between the office area and the nurse's office. And they have to reconfigure the casework that exists there because of that. This is a high priority as far as school security, and It's coming in at 78,000. Jay's going to talk about that. He actually thinks that's conservative. He thinks it may be less. I probably stole your thunder on that one, but go ahead.
So they will be starting demolition mid-June when staff is out of the building, and then the casework is the long lead time item that's scheduled to come in July. So they'll try to do the doors and the demolition and as much as they can before that time, and then as soon as the casework comes in July, mid-July, they'll put it in and finish up. You can see the trade estimate is 53,000, and then there's some contingency and additional labor that I think there's a lot of contingency in there. So the construction management fees and architect fees are what they are, and I think there's plenty of those other numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised if it came in a little short of that, but we've budgeted the full amount.
And just in general, what level of protection does this provide that we currently don't have?
So right now, when Alice is buzzes someone into the building, they have to go into the school before they come and then come back into the office. So this would allow somebody to enter the office, and basically there's a vestibule, and
right.
the second doors would be locked, and they'd be forced to be funneled through the office where there's another locked door, and they'd have to be buzzed into the building at that point. So
just like at the middle school.
Just like at the middle school, and we would try to avoid buzzing people into the building. If they were coming to pick up their child at the nurse's office or in the front office, the children would already be in there. So we'd contain visitors in the front office and let many fewer into the building. And when we do, we would check them in through our Raptor system and have their IDs scanned first and give them visitor badges before releasing them into the building.
And the additional door to the nurse's office, my understanding with that is oftentimes parents will come into the office, but then they need to go down to the nurse's office to get their child if they're sick. So they have to go back out into the building again. Whereas this way they could just go literally from the office to the nurse's office, which again helps with security. The other thing that we probably will wind up considering that we don't do, that many other districts do, is next year we may be requiring parents to leave a driver's license when they come in, because we then can keep track of who is in the building and they have to check out. And we're having some problems with making sure that the procedures for that are being followed. So I think between this reconstruction, which needs to be done, and some of the other things that we're doing, it helps us a lot with school security. So, and it fits in with getting it done this summer with the air conditioning units in the building being shut down. So.
Any questions related to that? Because I skipped it in our freewheeling opening, does anyone have an addition for a discussion item in the future? If not, we will get into action.
Let's go.
All right.
Good catch. I forgot about that.
Well, it's not my first time. Okay, here we go. Action items. Approval and acceptance of FY18 school treasurer surety bond. This is completed annually. The necessary documents from the insurance company are attached in the board packet. And this must be submitted to the Lake County Regional Office of Education by June 30th, as detailed in Jay's memo from last month. Any discussion of this? All right, may I have a motion to approve the FY18 school treasurer surety bond as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second.
Would the secretary please call the roll?
John Rosen.
Yes.
Leanne Charlo.
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Hague.
Yes.
Philip Pitt.
Yes. Great. Next up, approval of Lake Bluff Elementary School office renovations. We're asking the board to approve the renovations to the elementary school office for security reasons. Any discussion? All right, may I have a motion to approve the IHC to perform the LBES office renovations as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Leanne Charlo.
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Hague.
Yes.
Philip Pitt.
Yes.
John Rosen.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Item C, the 18-19 employee single path contract. JD, want to discuss this with us?
We currently contract with Single Path, our technology third-party provider, for a tech support person at our elementary school. We do this because it's cost effective. We pay them for everything, including benefits, one rate. We don't have to train them. They have expertise from Single Path, and they have access to higher level technical staff at Single Path. It provides continuity. They don't get vacations or sick time. If they're unable to come in, then Single Path provides a different employee. And the biggest benefit is that it provides us flexibility as we're restructuring our IT department. We don't want to commit to hiring a full-time employee because we're not sure what the structure is going to look like yet. So we've had this arrangement for 2 years now, and it's worked out pretty well. And the cost of the service is increasing by CPI for next year, and we're looking to continue the service for another year.
Any questions for Jay?
This is Raul.
Actually, the man is Joel. Raul's just like a partner. He comes in as on an as-needed basis to provide consulting, but this is a full-time person.
Roughly how many hours on average a month do they spend?
We get
just roughly.
It's like
12, 20?
It's like 20 hours up to 20 hours we never use.
And if we don't use them, they carry them over. And so a lot of times they'll need to charge us for something, and they'll say, do you want us to charge you, or do you want to use your hours? So we've got an allotment of consulting time. But that's a separate contract. And this is under our master agreement, so it's just an addendum to our current master agreement with Single Path.
Anything else? All right, may I have a motion to approve the 18-19 employee Single Path contract as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Up next, item D, the GCA contract amendment. Jay, do you want to fill us in on this one?
GCA is our current evening custodial third-party contractor. We are asking to extend the contract for a 5th year. This would be the final renewal, and after this year, we'll need to rebid it for next year. Our contract terms allow us to, at our discretion or our option, extend the contract for an additional year at the CPI. So the increase would be 2.1%. And we're happy with their service and want to continue using them for an additional year.
Questions? May I have a motion to approve the GCA contract amendment as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes.
Right, item E, approval of 2018-2019 administrator contracts. We're asking the board to approve the 2018-2019 administrator contracts for Jay Kahn, Kevin Rubenstein, Kelly Bay, Nate Blackmer, Margaret St. Clair, Tracy Rorick, as presented by the administration.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
The personnel report, you should have received an updated personnel report at your seat. We had 3 changes that all occurred yesterday or today, so just the difference from your board packets to what's in front of you. Dan Williams is requesting an FMLA intermittent. His baby came early. He thought he'd make it till the summer. We also had a resignation. Adrian Doherty is on there as a resignation, and we added 1 more summer school person. So those are the changes, and I know, Phil, you're going to go through and read the personnel report.
Yeah, so for the record, we have a licensed retirement, Mary Strauss, effective date June 2020. Licensed FMLA, Lauren Hines, that's medical leave for 12 weeks. The effective date 8/22 of 18. Carly Quick, medical leave for 12 weeks, effective date 9/17/18. And then finally, Dan Williams will be intermittent leave for 4 weeks, effective date of May 21st, 18. And then our non-licensed resignation is Adrian Doherty, which is an effective date of June 2018.
I have to interrupt for 1 minute. Mary Strauss, the effective date should read 2022. So 2022 rather than 2020.
All right, thank you.
All right, then you're down to summer school.
Sure, and then we have a number of summer school teachers that are being hired at a rate of $41 an hour between June 14th and July 12th. That's Eric Andrico, Daniel Cray, Brett Craner, Brandy McDonough, Bethany Platt, Jackie Tibidor, Kathleen Turner, Jill Weinberger, and Brianne Petrie. Brianne, in this case, is hers is June 22nd to July 13th, which is different from the others. Also, Kathleen Turner is being hired at a flat rate of $3,500 for her work between June 13th and July 12th. Excuse me?
I don't know why Brienne's dates are different. They should be the same for everyone.
So it should be the June 14th to July 12th.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So noted. And then we have non-licensed temporary recommendations to hire Lori Brugioni, teaching assistant, June 14th to July 12th at an hourly rate of $16.79. Maria Ferretti, teaching assistant, June 14th to July 12th at an hourly rate of $15. Judy Gross, teaching assistant, effective date June 14th through July 12th, hourly rate of $18.18. Mindy Morall, teaching assistant, June 14th through July 12th, an hourly rate of $18.21. Greg Neal, teaching assistant, June 14th through July 12th, hourly rate of $15. Kathy Sullivan, school nurse, June 14th through July 12th, hourly rate of $39.07. And then finally, Darlene Yandel, teaching assistant, between June 14th and July 12th at an hourly rate of $19.52. Are there any of these that have been read, all these that you'd like to pull out individually for discussion?
No.
Anything in general here?
Just need a motion.
All right. So I need a motion to approve the personnel report as presented by the administration.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes. Moving on to the consent agenda, it contains the usual minutes and financial reports. Any items of discussion there?
I know I talked to Julie and there is an error on which minutes, Julie?
It was the second set of the closed session minutes.
And the date on that, let me get the date. I will work with Julie and make the correction on that. So I would like approval and then we'll go ahead and make the changes.
Anything else? Anyone? Some late night reading, Julie?
It looks to me like it would be the
Yeah, good job.
April 10th special Board of Ed meeting. The second one.
You know, I didn't note the date. It was the second one, and it's the
Okay.
second bullet point.
Okay, I will work on that with Julie. But I asked for approval for all of it.
All right, motion to approve the May 22nd, 2018 consent agenda as presented by the administration.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
We've got it. Roll call, John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes. And item number 8, FOIA requests. I think we have one. Jean, would you like to mention anything in particular about that?
All of our FOIAs are listed in our law
Yes.
for review at any time.
Online.
Online.
Any final public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the meeting to adjournment at 8:05 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Whoa.
Done.
Thank you.